Three, two, one.
Welcome to another episode of the Happy Hour Sports Betting Show. I am your host, Ricky Valero. We did mention last week that we would not be live this week, but after my good friend Clarkson decided to sweep the board from 6-0, I knew he would need a moment live on the air to just brag about it. So I got back from vacation. We are here live this morning to talk about all of our bets. Like I said, I'm joined by my partner, Mr. Clarkson. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great this morning, Ricky. How about you?
I'm doing good, man.
It's a beautiful, crisp Saturday morning here in Nashville, Tennessee. We got some good coffee brewed. Got a lot of football to watch today, a lot of football to watch tomorrow. And I'm just excited to talk about a good week of sports betting.
Exactly, man. I love it. It's great. I'm excited. It was a much needed bounce back week for you. We know it's early in the season. It was a little bit of a struggle, but overall for the week, we did pretty solid. We went 9-2-1. It was a hell of a week for us betting all together. You know what I mean? Obviously, a lot of that 9-2-1 was your 6-0, which I'll break down my picks here in just a few minutes. But it's nice when you're in a little bit of a slump to come out swinging. You know what I mean? And it was crazy because some of those bets were going back and forth, and it was really like kind of scary at some points. But I really enjoyed the victory for you this week. I struggled not being able to bet as I was on a cruise ship, and you couldn't bet at all. Sadly, my gambling habits only had to be me at the roulette table. I sat at a roulette table for an hour and a half and lost $30 that I got for free from the cruise. So I can't be mad about that. But I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to win some money this week and hopefully win each of you some money as well. So without further ado, Clarkson, let's recap the big 6-0 week for us here, man.
I want to start off by saying, dude, throwing L's except they're W's.gif right now. W. Browns plus 4.5. That was my lock. 2 units. That hit. Falcons plus 10.5. That was a win. It was a little touch and go there. They scored a couple touchdowns in the fourth quarter against the Bucs. They are now 5-0 against the spread. So they're the only undefeated team still against the spread in the NFL this year. Jets plus 4.5. I made the comment that Miami looked very average with Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback, and then he went out and got hurt. I'm pretty sure he's still in concussion protocol. So rookie 7th rounder Skylar Thompson came in and just – it wasn't a Tom Brady moment. I'll just say that. Nick Chubb over 99.5 rushing plus receiving yards. By the time the game started, that number had gone up to 105.5, and he still blew past that number. So that's he's undefeated. He's hit his over rushing receiving yards prop 5 straight weeks to start the season. The other one I was worried about, this one I wasn't worried about. McCaffrey over 4.5 receptions. I think he'd hit that by maybe before halfway through the third quarter. So that one wasn't even a sweat. And then the other bet, my last bet was Dallas, Los Angeles Rams under 44.5. This one I was worried about there in the first half. They got, I think it was 14-10 at halftime or something like that. And I was like, oh, well, there goes 6-0. You know what? 5-1 is going to be all right. We're not going to get upset about it. And then they just stopped scoring points.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy because as we were sitting there talking, I mean, most of you know, if you got a buddy that you bet with or you talk a lot with, we're sitting here back and forth and we're going. And again, I'm on a cruise. So basically my ESPN updates for the most part are trying to refresh ESPN or Yahoo on a cruise where the Wi-Fi service is subpar at best. And then Clarkson just giving me the updates here. That's how I was keeping track with football. But Great week for him. For me, it was a 3-2-1 week. The Cardinals covered that +7, which I said that I felt like that game was going to be a lot more competitive than people thought it was going to be. I ended up being right about that, so that felt good. The Steelers over 1.5 touchdowns. This team had the ball in the red zone, I think, 4 different times against the Bills and just could not score. The Bills are that good. I understand that, but 1.5 touchdowns. Come on, guys. Come on. Like Aaron Rodgers over 1.5 touchdowns. I think that was one of the easiest bets I've ever had in my entire existence. I think he had that at the beginning of the second quarter, I think it was. I was crazy because going in out of the London games, I was 2-0. I felt really good. And then just everything went downhill from there. Dobbs over 18.5 for his longest reception. I think he had 2 catches in the game. One was for like 22 yards. And then he just
first catch of the game.
First catch of his, exactly. And then it was just downhill from there, which is great. Trevor Lawrence over 1.5 touchdowns really let me down. He didn't even throw 1 touchdown. So that was pretty good. Against a Texans team that I just don't even know how to feel about. One week they're like playing
that game deserved to be on Thursday Night Football.
It really did. And then my final bet, which I'm very upset about my final bet, I would have went 4-2 this week had I just stuck with my Seahawks 7.5 bet, right? I had the Seahawks +7.5, and I was like, you know what? I feel so strongly about the Seahawks. The line had shifted down a little bit. I went to Seahawks +7. And then, of course, it just ended up breaking even, which I'm okay with because it's not a loss. But I just really felt strongly about the Seahawks. And then Taysom Hill decided to score 62 touchdowns, which I don't understand. But overall in the season, we are back up strong here. We're at 20-16-2 on the season, which is very strong. A huge bounce back week for us, putting us in that plus. We're up 5 units. And on top of that, if you follow us on Twitter, we're already 1-0 on the week, as Clarkson suggested that we bet the under on the Bears and Commanders game, which is set football back about 150 years again. After not being able to really watch live football for a whole week to come home, I still have not watched live football yet. I'm waiting for maybe later today or even Sunday to actually watch live football because that game was not football. But so we're up to a strong unit already for the week, so that's great to hear. And of course, now we're going to break down our week 6 picks like we do each and every week. We go back and forth 1 pick at a time and break down why we're throwing this bet down. So without further ado, Clarkson will let you have the floor with your first pick.
Before I get into my first pick, I did a same game parlay on that Bears Commanders game. Very easy game. Everything hit except for 2 picks, which was Bears over 6.5 points in the first half and Bears over 1.5 touchdowns. If Justin Fields converts one of the 2 first down and goals at the 1 yard line, the entire bet hits. And it went interception, the first drive he had within the 5 yard line. And the second drive, they went run, pass, 4 downs within the 1 yard line and did not get in the end zone. That game was awful. I love Thursday Night Football now. I love watching awful football. It's hilarious to me, but that really pissed me off.
I agree with you. Let me stop you right there. Everybody has complained about Thursday Night Football, and it's so borderline bad that it's fun to watch. Like it really is. Like yesterday on the podcast, we broke down what next week has in store for us. Let's see here. Next week we have New Orleans at Arizona. The week after that, we have Baltimore, Tampa Bay, which could be a good game. But both of those teams have not looked exactly great. But after that, we have Philadelphia at Houston, Atlanta, Carolina, Tennessee, Green Bay. We have a couple good games on Thanksgiving. And then after that, Prime has Buffalo, New England, which could be good. Las Vegas versus Los Angeles. Okay. San Francisco, Seattle. But then Jacksonville and the Jets, and then Dallas versus Tennessee. So they have a couple of good ones on the back half of the schedule. But this first half, I kind of
this isn't what Jeff Bezos paid $13 billion for.
No. I mean, there's so many good jokes right now on Twitter. There's so many good jokes on Twitter right now about Amazon, no return policies. It didn't take long for them to see how disgruntled employees were in the NFL. It's just like so many good ones. All right, Clarkson, you back on the floor, man, my man. What do you got for us?
So my first bet of the week, I'm looking at the New England Patriots Cleveland Browns game, under 21.5 first half. I think this game is going to be a slog. I love Nick Chubb and what he's doing. He's the best. Looks like the best back in the NFL right now. But both of these defenses are pretty good. The Patriots are really good against the run. I just don't think there's going to be a lot of points in this game. I'll flip back and forth between the total under and the first half under. I just don't. I think if there is going to be points in this game, it's going to be coming in the second half. Yeah, give me that first half under 21.5 points for New England and Cleveland.
I like that. I'm going to go back to a bet that I bet last week. There's a little bit of juice on it. So, I mean, obviously, if you bet $1, however you bet your units, it's basically 55 cents on the dollar right now. But Aaron Rodgers is over 1.5 touchdown passes. It's at minus 180. I don't love it that being that high. We don't like to try to aim that high, but when you're trying to get 55 cents on the dollar, you really can't help but go into that well and put a solid unit on it, because he's hit this now 4 straight games since week 1 with his 0 touchdowns. He's finding rhythm with his receivers. I like it a lot. And whether I don't really care, if they lose, win, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? At this point, I just want him to throw those 2 touchdown passes, which, I mean, against this Jets team, which I'm rooting for the Jets. Like, I'm actively rooting each week for the Jets because we love the Jets on this podcast. Surprisingly, neither one of us have a Jets bet this week. But with that being said, I'm excited to see that because I think Aaron Rodgers hits this 1.5 touchdowns with ease this week. So I like Aaron Rodgers over 1.5 touchdown passes. What about you, Clarkson, for your second pick?
My next bet, it's the only part of the Rams offense that I will even touch. They have no running game. Matt Stafford has looked average coming off that Super Bowl, but he is feeding Cooper Kupp week in and week out, unbelievably. So my next bet is Cooper Kupp over 7.5 receptions. He's had at least 7 catches in 4 out of 5 games and 11 or more in 3 of those. He's the only guy that Matt Stafford is even looking at right now. So that number over 7.5 is at minus 135 right now. I think that's a pretty easy bet. I think that, Cooper Kupp is the only fantasy relevant player on the Rams right now. So give me Kupp over 7.5 receptions.
It's funny to me because, I was looking at it while you were talking, and I was looking at Higbee because I was like, Higbee has become a decent number 2 option on that offense, but even his numbers at 5.5, and I wouldn't bet that because I have no confidence in, if that number was right around maybe 2.5, 3.5, where it's crazy to me. Allen Robinson's at over 2.5 catches, over 2.5, only 2.5. That's all he has to do. It's at minus 160. And it's crazy to me that his number is that low, right? You know what I mean? That to me is just an astronomical figure. It's just that offense has just looked like dog shit, coming off that big Super Bowl win. They can't run the ball. And Akers, I think what favors you as well is, as we talked about before we got on the air, I didn't realize that Akers was not playing this week.
Yep.
So
he's out for personal reasons.
Yeah, so that's even more crazy to even think about. But
and I saw somebody compare this situation with Akers to Todd Gurley when McVay first got to St. Louis and now Los Angeles. It's a weird situation. I don't know what's going on. Akers looked so good as a rookie, came back after that torn Achilles very quick, and he's just. I don't know. I mean,
he looked his best last week. You know what I mean? He looked his best last week.
Weird situation in Los Angeles for Cam Akers.
Yeah, I'm sure it's got to be doing something with his playtime. I'm sure Akers thought that he'd probably be more of the bell cow by now. I think we all thought that he would be more of the bell cow by now. But Transitioning over to my next pick, I've got the Vikings over 2.5 touchdown passes. If I was going rating on a scale of 1 to 10 of all my picks, this might be the pick that I'm kind of scared of, but I feel like this is a no-brainer based on simple facts. The Vikings have scored 4 touchdowns in 3 straight games. They're taking on a Dolphins team that Clarkson mentioned earlier that is just reeling. They've given up 67 points in the last 2 games. And you got to remember, they just put up 40. The Jets just put up 40 on this team, and the Vikings are playing really good football. The Vikings have a strong chance at winning this division, which is impressive to me.
Let me stop you. You said over 2.5 touchdown passes.
I'm sorry, over 2 touchdowns, 2.5 touchdowns. My apologies. Yeah. I have it written down on my screen for some reason as passes. I need to delete that. Vikings over 2.5 touchdowns versus the Dolphins. I apologize. Thank you for clarifying that for those at home. They'd be like, no, that was an L, buddy. You said 2.5 touchdown passes.
Kirk Cousins threw 6 picks and no touchdown passes.
Exactly. It's funny because I think that's probably why it says passes, because I almost went Cousins over 1.5 touchdowns because it's only minus 140. But give me the touchdown. So give me the Vikings over 2.5 touchdowns scored total versus the Dolphins there. I like it a lot. The Dolphins are just reeling right now. And Skylar Thompson looks to be starting this week. So yeah.
I think Teddy's still in concussion protocol.
He is, yeah. So give me them that 2.5 touchdowns all day, every day.
For my next pick, I'm hopping on this bandwagon very late in the season. Dude's looked absolutely electric. He's making Pete Carroll look like a fucking genius. Geno Smith over 1.5 touchdown passes. He's hit 4 out of 5. He's had at least 2 touchdown passes in 4 out of 5 weeks. I mean, who would have thought that the Seahawks came out better with a better quarterback from the trade of Russell Wilson to Denver? I know Drew Lock was a quarterback that came back in that trade, but still, I mean, Geno Smith looks like a completely different quarterback than he's ever looked in the entirety of his NFL career. But yeah, Geno Smith over 1.5 touchdown passes is at minus 155 right now, so the odds are a little high, but that's probably because he has hit that 4 out of 5 weeks. But I don't know. This is probably the come back to earth week for him. You know, coming off of a 6-0 week for me, I'm sure this will be one of the bets that I don't hit. But I love me some Geno Smith right now. Over 1.5 touchdown passes.
Awesome. I love it.
Seahawks Nation, let's rock.
I love it a lot. All right. So my third bet of the week is going with a Baltimore Ravens team that has looked very good in the first half each week of the season. Last week was the only week they tied with the Bengals at the half at 10. But they have won every other first half this year. I like them to do the same this week against a Giants team that is overachieving like a motherfucker. But give me the Ravens minus 1.5 first half against the Giants. Like I said, the Ravens have been playing good first half of football throughout the entire season. I just don't believe this Giants team is good at all. And the Ravens can score points. And
4-1 is 4-1, man.
Hey, go fuck yourself. I like the Ravens as a team, as a collective whole. We love Lamar Jackson on this podcast, and we want him to just throw 17 touchdown passes each week, because every week that he plays, the dollar signs are only going up. That they're going to have to pay this.
Correct.
Man. So
pay that man.
Exactly. They can't pay him down because he's like, you know what? I'm just going to prove to you that I am worth every single dollar that they paid Deshaun Watson. You should be paying me. So give me Ravens minus 1.5 at the half. That's a lot to say there versus the Giants. Yeah.
My next pick, I flip-flop between longest rush and his over total on the rushing yards. This guy's gotten at least 70 yards rushing in 4 straight weeks since who was the starter in San Francisco before?
Trey Lance?
No, for the running back.
Oh, Elijah Mitchell.
Before Elijah Mitchell got hurt, or since Elijah Mitchell got hurt, Jeff Wilson Jr.'s gotten at least 70 yards rushing in 4 straight weeks. Give me Jeff Wilson Jr. over 65.5 rushing yards, minus 120. That total I feel like is a little low. The Falcons aren't a very good running defense, as we saw last week with Leonard Fournette going just absolutely bonkers on them. But yeah, I think Jeff Wilson Jr. hits this total pretty easily. My side note, his over-under on his longest rush is 15.5 yards. That was my original pick, but I switched to his total. I don't know. Which just probably means he's going to bust off a 20-yard run his first carry, and then he's just, he's either going to roll an ankle or pull his hamstring. And this is going to be an L for me, but whatever.
My favorite part's going to be if he rushes for a 50-yard run and then just pulls the hammy and then just is off to some random shit. It's going to be funny because you come off one of those weeks where you're 6-0 and watch every bet come within just moments of hitting. But you think coming off a week like that, and you temper your expectations because you're not going to go undefeated every week, right? And you're feeling confident, and I know you did after going 4-0 a couple weeks in a row. But now, after going 6-0, I like my bets, but now I'm just looking at them like this is going to lose, and this is going to lose, and this is going to lose. It's the opposite of confidence in yourself. It is pretty funny. Okay, so I am I'm throwing a curveball mid-podcast because all week I've been looking at a specific number that I really want to tackle, but I couldn't because they didn't have a number out, and I just saw the number. They just made it live. So I'm adding to my bets for the week, and I know I'm adding to my bets because of this. So last week I hit the Romeo Doubs over, I think it was over 18.5 yard reception. Okay.
Yeah.
And against the Giants because the Giants had given up 14. Now they've given up 16 because they gave up a 30-yard pass to to Cobb, which if you let that 98-year-old man just obliterate you like that.
Hey, don't talk about golden eyes like that on this podcast. We are Randall Cobb stands here. Go Cats.
I didn't. For some reason, I didn't know he was a cat. I apologize. I apologize for that. I'm pulling. So this is me throwing a curveball because I'm in the process of pulling up some numbers right now. So I didn't love Mark Andrews' number because that's the only number that was live at first, and Mark Andrews was over 22.5. I didn't love that number a lot, but Devin Duvernay is live now at over 18.5. I love this number, and I'll tell you why. He himself, the first 5 games of the season, over 25-yard catch, 26, 21, 21, 20, 21. So 5 straight games, my man has hit this number. So give me him hitting this prop over 18.5, longest reception this week against the Giants. He will be the 17th guy to get over his total for longest reception. I love this number so much. Andrews is at 22.5. I didn't love that one, but this one being at 18.5 is perfect for me to add to the fold. So give me that Duvernay over 18.5. Now, on top of that, this does make Clarkson and I even with 7 picks this week, even though he's had 1. So I feel good about that now too. We're even, Steven. Even though you already want to know. So
I just feel,
you're feeling it.
Dirty.
Yeah. Because
that Thursday night under was one of that. That should have been my super duper lock of the year or whatever. So that was the easiest bet I've ever made in my life.
Yeah.
My next pick, I'm a little confused by the line. I know the Bills are a good football team, really good football team. They're probably the favorites in the AFC right now, but I think I saw where this is the first time that Patrick Mahomes is a home underdog in his career.
Wow.
And the line when I got it Thursday is Chiefs plus 3.5 at home. I think this is going to be a shootout. I think it's going to probably come down to who's got the ball last. And I think I just don't see this being more than a field goal game either way. But I just betting against Pat Mahomes at home is a recipe for disaster. So give me the Chiefs plus 3.5 against the Bills.
Yeah, it's one of the it's literally the first line you and I talked about. Literally when we looked at this week's lines, it was the first line that really stood out to me. Because you remember, like we talked about several times on the show, you get 3 points at home, no matter who you are. That's an automatic give. So that means you're swinging the Bills at 5.5-point favorites really here, because again, you get 3 points at home. So it's the full swing of the -3 for the Chiefs all the way to -2.5 for the Bills. And it's not like the Chiefs have played terrible. You know what I mean? Like they've had literally like one bad game all year. And that was against a Colts team that we're not sure is even a football team or not. You know what I mean? Like and if you think about it, I mean, the same can be said for the Bills. They lost a game against the Dolphins where they 100% should have won that football game. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's, I very confused by this. I don't know. I like the Chiefs this week to even win the football game. Like I do. And
you feel crazy even saying that, because you're like, what is going on?
Exactly. Like I sound like an idiot, right? You know what I mean? We sound like idiots right now, just thinking about the idea of not, the Chiefs should be, even if the line is, Chiefs -1 or Chiefs -2.5, or -2 or something like that. It's crazy to even think that you're right, an underdog Chiefs, which makes me even like this bet even more, because it's like it sounds stupid, but you're giving that ammunition of, we're underdogs in our house type of, narrative or whatever you want to say. So, which is the perfect segue, because I've got a bet in this game. Marquez Valdes-Scantling over 45.5 yards receiving this week. He's hit this number in 3 straight games. He hasn't become exactly the most, he's not the go-to guy. Obviously, he's not Kelsey, which Kelsey's coming off one of the strangest games in the history of NFL. He had 25 yards, but had 4 touchdown catches. Still very confused by that. But Valdes-Scantling has looked good. I mean, he's got, targets in the last 4 games, 7, 7, 5, and 8. So he's being looked at. He hit 90 yards last week, 63 the week before, 48 the week before. I like the 45.5. I think that these teams are going to be throwing the ball, obviously, a lot. You know what I mean? We're talking about a football teams that are going to throw the ball probably 45, 50 times in this game. You're going to see the rock thrown around. Probably we'll end up getting like a 10-7 game because we're talking about this. But, But I like MVS to hit this prop relatively easy. I think that he's going to go for easily 65, 70 yards. And I like him here. I like him on DFS. I like him if you start him in fantasy. He's starting to become the guy that everybody thought Juju Smith-Schuster would be for this team. Valdes-Scantling was pretty good in Green Bay. So he's averaging, I think, like 13 yards a catch. So you can't be mad about that. He's averaging 51 yards a game. So, he's averaging more than, his prop is right now, 45.5. So give me that number right now. I like it a lot. So you have one more for your prop, or are you ready for your lock?
Yeah, I've only got the lock left. So you go on ahead and give your last pick for our locks.
I'm going back to the well. Going back to this well again. I think that this team, it's not that this team is overachieving. I'm not saying that. I think that they're a very good football team. Our last 3 bets are all in the same game. So that's fun here in all in ourselves. But give me the Dallas Cowboys plus 7.5 against the Eagles. The Cowboys are playing some incredible defense. And I think if there is a team that can keep Hurts in the pocket and make him throw the ball, I think it's going to be the Cowboys. And it's not to say that Hurts can't beat you with his arm, but I think that he's a little bit more flexible whenever he's able to get out of the pocket, get back in the pocket scenario. So for me, I really like this number. I like the Cowboys to keep it close, even with Cooper Rush. The Cowboys have covered 10 of their last 11 home games. So, road games. Sorry. I like this number a lot for the Cowboys. Give me the Cowboys plus 7.5 against the Eagles. Speaking of the Eagles, your lock of the week is?
My lock of the week is Dallas, Philadelphia over 41.5 points. I know Ricky was just talking about how, good the Cowboys have looked on defense the entire year. What's surprising to me, which I just confirmed, the Cowboys have scored at least 20 points in every game that Cooper Rush has started. So even if, I mean, you could easily see a 24-20 game, 24-21, whatever, and you're covering this over. The Eagles' offenses look great. They're going to get tested very much so by this Cowboys defense, but I still think you're going to get, a few touchdowns on either side of the ball here. And like I said, it's 41.5 right now, which seems low to me, just because of how these two teams have scored points. I know the Cowboys, their first game of the year with Dak, when he got hurt, they only scored 3 points against the Bucs, but every game since then, they've scored at least 20 points. So I don't know. It seems that 41.5, it just seems low. So give me over 41.5 Eagles against the Cowboys.
I like it. I like it a lot. And speaking of a team that you have mentioned scoring those 20 points since Cooper Kupp is in the office here, there's one bet that this is one that I am very confused by. I understand we're talking about Cooper Kupp. I understand we're talking about a team that has been up and down, but we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys line right now at total touchdowns is at -140 for over 1.5. I don't understand this number. This number should be like an over 2.5 with the plus money being on that over 2.5, and then the under getting like minus -140 or something like that. But I'm getting the Dallas Cowboys over team total touchdowns of over 1.5. I like it a lot. This is a no-brainer. You're telling me the Cowboys aren't going to score 2 touchdowns against the Eagles? I don't care if Troy Aikman is coming out of retirement with his overrated ass and throwing touchdown passes. The Cowboys are going to score 2 touchdowns this week. You can book it. You can guarantee it. And I love it because really that over 2.5 or 1.5 touchdowns equates into your bet as well. So it's kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone as we see more and more points in this game. Look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I would not be surprised if we see a Dallas Cowboys win this week. I really wouldn't. And I know it sounds crazy to even suggest, but I'm really, really, really liking it. And just real quick, I just saw this on DraftKings. They're doing a DK special for the week, which is A.J. Brown and CeeDee Lamb both to record 40-plus receiving yards at -150. That's actually kind of crazy. It's a hell of a bet, actually. So. But yeah, so that is my final bet. If you feel like, trusting our instincts on these bets right here, you can parlay in the same game parlay of the 41.5. We're not suggesting it, but we'll probably end up doing it just because that's what we do. But over 41.5, over 1.5 total touchdowns, and the Cowboys plus 7.5 will get you plus 235 on a same game parlay. So, all right, as we do each and every week, before we go, Clarkson is going to share his picks. I'm going to share my picks, and then we're going to get off the air. So go ahead, Mr. Clarkson. The floor is yours.
All right, so my first pick of the week, New England against Cleveland, under 21.5 total points in the first half. I think this game's going to be a slog. I don't think there's going to be a ton of points scored in this game. Both defenses are actually pretty good, and the Patriots are good at stopping what the Browns do best, which is running the ball. Second pick, Cooper Kupp, over 7.5 receptions. He's had 7 catches in 4 out of 5 games, 11 or more in 3 of those. The number is -135. I think this is a pretty easy bet. He's the only guy really that you can count on in that Rams offense. My third bet, Geno Smith, over 1.5 touchdown passes. He's hit this 4 out of 5 weeks. I think it's a pretty easy bet. And like I said earlier, he's making Pete Carroll look like an absolute genius. My fourth pick is Jeff Wilson Jr., over 65.5 rushing yards. He's hit 70 or more 4 straight weeks since he became the starter when Elijah Mitchell went down. My fifth pick, Chiefs plus 3.5 at home against the Bills. I just don't understand the conventional wisdom behind Patrick Mahomes being an underdog at home. It doesn't make sense to me, or like Ricky said, to him either. And my lock of the week is Dallas against Philadelphia, over 41.5 total points. You just get a normal game from both teams, and you're going to hit this pretty easily. Dallas is looking competent offensively with Cooper Rush under center. He doesn't make mistakes. He's been a really, really good backup quarterback. I don't think there's going to be any quarterback controversy when Dak comes back. You don't pay that guy that much money and not give him the keys back. But give me Dallas against Philadelphia over 41.5 as my lock.
I like it. I like it a lot. I'm feeling more and more confident with some of my picks. So I look forward to going like 0-7 or something. I don't know. Like I said this off the air. I'm gonna say it on the air. I would sacrifice a 0-7 week betting if we could just get the Phillies to beat the Braves today. Go Phillies. That's all I'm gonna say. All right. Now for my looks like 7 picks of the week, I believe I have now. So give me the Ravens minus 1.5. At the end of the first half, give me Rodgers over 1.5 total touchdown pass. Let me start over again. Ravens minus 1.5 at the end of the first half. Give me Rodgers over 1.5 touchdown passes. Vikings over 2.5 total touchdowns. Marquez Valdes-Scantling over 45.5 receiving yards. Give me Devin Duvernay over 18.5 yards for his longest reception. And give me the Cowboys plus 7.5. And then the lock of the week is Cowboys over 1.5 total touchdowns. I love this bet a lot. And as we mentioned before, all of our bets are 1 unit. And of course, our locks of the week are 2 units. So I'm very, very excited for this week of football. As we mentioned, we are 20-16-2 on the season. So we hope you're following along because last week we clean swept. It was a hell of a week at 9-2-1. We are starting to find our mojo, which is what we did last year in the NFL. If anybody that follows us, last year we started off a little bit struggling. And I think once we get baseball, that hump of baseball off our back, and we can shift fully to football, I think that's where we kind of start finding our mojo. So I'm excited about that a lot. And thank God baseball season's over because it is a chore to find. We had a hell of a year, but it's nice to focus in.
It's
on one sport at a time.
It's a slog. And my favorite thing, 2 things before we head out. I just read the tweet that you put out for our show. I didn't realize that you had put in there that you wanted to talk about Zaddy Wilson, so that cracked me up. And secondly, I know we're focusing on football for the next couple of weeks, but college basketball is about here. We've only got a couple of weeks left until college basketball starts. So look for me to start shifting a little bit of my focus to college basketball because that's my sport of choice. After it goes 1A and 1B's college basketball, baseball, and then football after that. So Big Blue Madness was last night, the official kickoff to college basketball season. So can't wait for that to start up. Look for my preview here coming up, and go Cats.
Go Cats 100%. And if you want to head on over to Twitter to see me getting dragged by every human being known to man for my apparently awful take on one of the worst movies I've ever seen, Halloween Ends, people are having a field day with me because in what I thought would just be a normal tweet, I have gotten about, hang on, let me see. I'm up to 31 quote tweets. And when I say quote tweets, I promise you not a lot have been very nice. I am up to 70 or 98 replies and 76 quote tweets. And if you want to have a good time, just head on over to Twitter, follow me at @RickyVillar_. And some of these are some of the funniest things I have read because I don't take any of them to heart. I just think it's hilarious. And the movie was god awful. So if you're looking for some fun movie takes and you're looking for some people making fun of me, this is the most fun I've had with reviews since Bill Burr. And if you know, folks. So with that being said, follow my buddy on Twitter, Chris Clarkson91. Follow me at RickyVillar_. Make sure to follow the pod, FF Happy Hour Pod, the original fantasy football happy hour podcast for those of you out there. We will be back next week. I look forward to gallivanting on the show as I am 7-0. And unless the Phillies win today, I don't care. I will literally say, look, guys, I'm sorry we lost money last week, but I prayed to the gods that I said the Phillies could win and I would go 0-7. So if that happens, you know why. So just if the Phillies win, actually just fade me this week because there's a strong possibility. Like the good thing we know is the Phillies play today. So this is Saturday when we're recording. So if for some reason the Phillies do win, I would maybe fade me this week. I don't know. So But with that being said, a lot of good football on the slate today. Go Alabama because fuck the Vols.